Welcome back to my workshop journey, and here in the UK it's still very warm for the beginning of August. Not quite as hot as it was in July, when here it hit nearly 40 degrees centigrade, but at least it's a very pleasant time to be working here in the workshop. We left last episode with me debating how to fix my belt sander to the bench so that I can work safely and also effectively. Well, after I finished filming, I did a bit of thinking about it and I've come up with a solution. So let me show you what I've done. So here you've got the T-track, and these are the two slot carriers. I can't remember what the proper title is, that I got from Rutland Tools the other week. So those go in there. What I'm using to go through here is one of the test pieces I made myself so that I could test the panel raising ability of the new cutter I've got. I never touched this piece of wood, but it's a nice 15mm thick. It's flat, that's the main thing, and it will take the brackets very easily. So I've just cut a couple of holes in where I wanted them on the bench. Those just attach very easily with the nuts that came with the brackets. Tighten those down nicely. If you put much pressure on here, they will lift out of the T-tracks, but then you're not supposed to put that much pressure on them. So nice and tight. So that's firm. I can now bolt the belt sander to the wood, and then just with the brackets that came with the belt sander into the holes and tighten it up. Now these screws need a bit of extra torque adding, so sometimes I will get an old screwdriver and just prise things around, but that's really quite stable, very solid, and so that's all ready for starting work. So when it comes to actually sanding all of the rails and legs, if you remember from last time, I have made sure that all of the tenons have their respective letters for the joint. That's going to pose no problem, because I know I'm going to remove the masking tape while I sand this part, then put the masking tape back, and then I will know which is the outside, just to give me some idea without really thinking about it. So I can then sand all of those and get rid of any construction marks that are still left. So that applies to all of the 6 short and the 4 long rails. The difficulty comes when I'm going to be doing the legs, because I need to remove all of the construction lines. That's fine, but if I'm not careful, I'm going to be removing all of the letters to highlight which tenons go into which mortise. So I've not quite decided how I'm going to handle this one yet, but I'm going to crack on with the rails, then I'll come back to the legs and we'll take it from there. And it is really a pleasure to be able to use this bench or belt sander. It really makes it a lot easier to do a lot of sanding, and that's just on the 80 grit size of the belt. I've got 120 to go. All I've done so far, you've noticed, are the 6 short rails. So that's how the project's going to go. I'm just going to do the long rails and then I'll work out exactly what to do with the legs. And it is really that quick. That's the rails done. Now then, what am I going to do with the legs? And to borrow a phrase from one of the musical films of the 1950s and 60s, it was a Doris Day film called The Pyjama Game, all about what went on in a pyjama factory. But one of the phrases toward the end of the film was that with a pencil and paper I've worked it out, and I think I've worked this one out. What I'm going to do is make a note on the paper, and with a pencil on the paper is mark which joint is which. Do that side and then remark which joint is which, because just here that's where the rail will go, so all of that will be covered when I come to assemble the joint, so it won't matter that I remark that. That means I can, so long as I know which joint is which on each individual piece, which is why I say I'm going to do each individual side, and then we'll be able to remark it and I won't get lost. That's the theory. Let's see how it goes. So this is yeah, if I can read that one. Oh no, that will be A, won't it? That's okay. So I'm working from the bottom of the leg. So what I'm going to do is so I know which is the bottom, but I better just make sure with all of these ABC. I know there was a logic to all of this somewhere. ABC. DEF, that's D. That's the one I couldn't read. MNO PRS. Okay, so long as I can read what I've written, I'll be alright. So let's go for P. R and S, and the alternate is double O, double N and double M. I'm going to only do one side at a time and then remark it. Let's see how this one pans out. PRS. So this one is MNO with ZZ, YY and XX, and I'm going to come back to the face edge and face side in a few minutes. This seems to be working quite well. So A, B and C is matched with double S, double R and double P. And I know what you're thinking, I'm going to have to do all this again, aren't I, when it comes to the 120 grit. You're right. But it's the work of but a moment, and I'm not particularly worried about that. D. TT, VV and WW. There we go. That went very well, and you'll notice I've remarked all of the joints much clearer now. I can see and I can read them a lot better. So all I've got to do now is the face edge and face side and go down the taper and smooth that off. Now I only have to have a quick run over the tapers, and then that's the legs done first pass. There we go. First pass on the tapers done. Those are a very smooth finish, and for a first go, that's excellent. So just going to clean up the sander, allow it to cool down a little, because this plate gets jolly warm with the belt rubbing over it. So just going to get rid of the dust, because on this sander a lot of it does go into the bag, but it's not a complete filtration system. Having done the first pass, this is cooled down slightly now, so to change the belt it's just release the catch, slip the belt off, make sure I know which way this belt is going to go. So direction of travel according to those arrows is that way, that's fine. So that's the side to put this on. Click that back into place. We're ready for the second pass. And I might as well start off where I finished, with the taper and the face edge of the legs, and then work the other way around. And that's clever. That's the smell of burning. That's right, the belt had gone. So better leave that to cool down while I get another belt out. The new belt, that looks cleaner. Unfortunately there wasn't a lot of wear on the other one, but new belt, the rollers cooled down a little. Let's carry on. Good, all the rails and legs done. Let me just get the other pieces and I'll do those on here as well. Now I won't do all these pieces because I've already done these with the palm sander, haven't I? So everything's now done up to 120 grit. I just clear the bench and then I can start thinking about gluing up. The next job then is to start assembling the piece, but what I thought I'd do first is just to dry assemble to see if there are any snags that I need to overcome first. So at random I've just picked this long rail, which is tenon SS and OO. So there's SS, that's going to go, oops, like that, and OO is going to be just there. One of the raised panels, and inside is that shorter side. So if I just ease that in there, will that go? Not quite. So looks like I'm going to, oops, that was clever. Just put that in there. Well, that fits nicely, and you can see how that is going to be a very nice appearance. So let me pop that back in there. Is that going to pose any difficulties? Yes, that's not easing in easily. And if I just turn that over, it appears that that bit there is just a little bit too wide, so that's something I'm going to have to smooth down with perhaps a chisel just to ease it in. But how's the other side going to go? That one is going in nicely. Oh yes, I like that. That has gone in very easily. So most of the time that is going to be a very good easy fit. Okay, because of course I'm going to need the second, which is RR and NN. That's that one. RR will be that way, and then of course it will be PP and MM, which will be PP and MM, which will be this one. So it just depends on me easing this little bit of the panel before that will go in. Okay, so keep those to one side a minute, because this was something that I've had big discussions with my neighbour Tim, My wife has mentioned it as well. I was thinking of gluing the whole thing up together, but they said, no, don't. Do the two long sides or two short sides as separate units and then put the other two sides in after we've got this one square. So those are the pieces for that. Pop those to one side for a minute. Okay. ZZ is that one. And TT should be this one. Yep. Which means this one is YY. That's that one. And VV is that one. Another long panel. And again, that fits these very well. That's tighter, but let's see how this one goes in. That's tight, but those are lining up nicely. So although it's tight, that will pull together. So I've got no problems with that. Okay, so there is only that one little bit to ease. Let me keep those together so I know exactly which piece goes where. Let me have a look at this other piece, and let me move the short rails and short panels out of the way. What exactly is the problem? Yes. The problem is there's a little lip here, and that is just impeding that slightly. It goes in all right like that. So can I, SS is that one. Can I fit it like that? part of the problem. There's a slight misalignment with where the channel is, and that's just pushing the tenon out slightly. So I could, with the panel going into that channel nicely, the channel is taking on the rail, is taking the panel nicely. I don't know whether you can see that, but the tenon is just slightly out, so I think what I might do is just ease the tenon slightly, take a little sliver off the tenon, and that should ease nicely. So a little sliver off here with a chisel. What I'm conscious of is not getting my wrist in the way of a slipping blade. The last thing I would want is to drive the chisel into my wrist. Let's have another go at this. Will this go in any easier? To look forward to any of your comments about the hash that I'm making of fitting these. I know there must be an easier way to do it, but being the first time I've done something this complicated, no, it is It's quite a way out actually. It's only this tenon that's the problem. And what if I take some out of there? That on its own. Okay, let's try it this way. The tenon goes in nicely. The panel goes in there nicely. But it is just a little bit out here. That needs to come. The easiest I think would be to ease that bit. Just take that bit down by how much? Like that. Now that's quite a lot. I'm not going to do the channel. I don't want to make that any bigger. I'm going to take that down there. So I think that will be a case of the 40 grit sander, or I could just take a sliver out of that with the bandsaw. So let me put that back in like that. So it's that bit. It's going right to the edge there, and I've got to take out basically that little hump there. Okay. This is the only one I need to do. Let me give this some thought. And that's worked nicely. I just used the bandsaw with the micro adjustment just to take out a sliver along that edge of the panel. That has just given me enough ease to make sure that everything slides in nicely. And yes, you can see a little bit of a lip, but you won't notice that when it's all finished. So that one will go like that. There we go. That's gone together very nicely, and I'm pleased with that. And of course, when I have glued it all up, the only joints, of course, that are going to get the glue are the mortise and tenons. The panels are going to be free so that they can move, expanding to take up any moisture. So that's gone together nicely. That's it. The lower rail, of course, will also need to go in, and right, that's got me that. So what I can do is going to leave it there for today, because one thing I don't want to do is rush things, and I can glue those next time I'm in the shed, and we can then start to see things pulling together nicely. And I did want to just pack up at this point, but I was just starting to lay the panel that I've been working on down, and I noticed, and I just wanted to share this lovely little view with you. Everything's just worked out so nicely. The whole idea of the raised panel was that it was going to be parallel and flush with the edge of the rail, and so look at that. That is how it was always intended to be. I'm ever so chuffed with that, and I think that finishes and rounds off this afternoon very nicely. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.